Good evening. My name is Zach Jung. I'm a 2018 graduate. I'm a former house captain of the House of Holger, which we're doing pretty well this year, so I'm very excited about that. And as you can see, I'm also a medical student. I'm currently running on about 3 hours of sleep, but if I've learned anything from Providence, it's how to write a 3-point speech in about 15 minutes. So we're doing pretty good here. I think we'll be okay. So, fellow paladins, if we have been called to plant oaks of righteousness, to rebuild ancient ruins, and to renew the ruined city, then we are going to need tools. And I'm not talking about hammers, pickaxes, and shovels. No, I'm talking about character, virtue, and reason. As you know, and as it was read previously, Providence's mission is to equip godly leaders in the task of expanding God's kingdom here on earth. Now, when I was asked to give this speech, I was told I had 5 to 7 minutes to explain how Providence has impacted me. And I can tell you right now that that is not enough time. I could sit here for weeks probably telling stories about the different ways that teachers have impacted me. So, because I only have 5 to 7 minutes, and I probably just used about a minute explaining why I only have 5 to 7 minutes, I will stick to just 3 points. And those are the 3 tools that Providence has given me: the ability to reason, the ability to communicate, and the ability to lead. Reason. The ability to reason is more than just being able to pick the correct answer on a multiple choice test. While that is good, it's good to do well on tests, it is not the end goal of a Christian. Reason, for a Christian, is being able to find what is true, good, and honorable about reality. Now, the lack of reason is quite evident in society. Look at the last 4 years, look at the last 20 years. It doesn't matter. You'll see that reason is lost. We become divided politically, spiritually, physically. Opinions are formed without consideration of what is true, good, or honorable. At Providence, students are taught more than logic, but choosing between A and B. Students are taught to consider opposing ideas before making judgments. They are taught to consider the context in which decisions were made. Students are taught to base their conclusions in Scripture. If we are to plant oaks of righteousness, then we'll need to find what is true, good, and honorable. Communication. When I was looking back at my time at Providence, I had to laugh, because if you had asked 9th grade me to come and give a speech willingly, I would have laughed. Public speaking has been one of my worst fears for many years. In fact, I remember one time I was actually in Mr. Steinbarger's office over here, and I was actually crying because I couldn't communicate. I couldn't write, I couldn't talk. Well, fast forward to now, and I can say that communication is one of my strongest skills. Why? Because Providence met me where I was and taught me to communicate. At Providence, students are expected to communicate at a high standard. At the time, because I was a student, I didn't really appreciate it. I didn't really like seeing my papers covered in red ink in Mr. Steinbarger's handwriting. There was a lot of red ink. Let's just put it that way. But my appreciation for this high standard was realized when I was an undergrad, taking English 101. It was syllabus week. I had just gotten the syllabus, and we were told that we had to write 3 3-page papers. There was a lot of groaning in my class. Several of my classmates said to me that they had never written a paper more than 1 page. One of them told me that the longest paper that they had ever written was 1 paragraph. For the unaware, in order to graduate from Providence, you need to write a 20-page paper and defend it in front of the board. Needless to say, 3 pages sounded amazing. So soon after I turned my first paper in, my English professor walked up to me and asked what school did I go to. She then asked me why I wasn't in her 400 level classes. Mind, I was a freshman at this point, and asked me to switch my major to English. I did not do that, clearly. See, as a student at Providence, I did not appreciate the high standard. As an adult, I have reaped the benefits. From scholarships to grants to jobs. Providence's high standard has continued to benefit me to this day. If we are to rebuild the ancient ruins, then we will need to be able to communicate. Leadership. America has a leadership problem. You know it, I know it, we all know it. We don't have leaders who take responsibility. We have leaders that point fingers. And the problem is we haven't had these kind of leaders, or we haven't had good leaders in a long time. One of the many things that I've grown to appreciate about Providence is a sense of responsibility that is ingrained in each and every one of the students. Starting in grammar school, students are taught to clean up for themselves, to care for one another, and to take care of their classrooms. In 9th grade, students take leadership class with Mr. Jung. And while many classes have leadership classes, this one's a little different. It starts with you. You learn to take responsibility for your actions, for your words, and for your time. The sense of responsibility is further enforced by the house system. If you are tardy, it's not just you that suffer the consequences, it's your whole house. Responsibility is the cornerstone of a strong leader and an able citizen. Looking back on the last few years, we can see that as a society, we lack a sense of responsibility. We don't take responsibility of our own actions, for our cities, or for our churches. If we are to renew the ruined city, then we must take responsibility. I owe much of my past and future success to Providence, both the institution and each and every one of the teachers and faculty that have helped me along the way. And I'm incredibly excited to see how God uses Providence to continue to spread his kingdom in the next 28 years. Thank you.